I'll be very brief. It's probably an observation more than anything else. And as I said from my previous kind of contribution, I mean, Ireland is changing in relation to how it views religion overall. You know, I think it's more a pluralistic society, and I think that's a good thing. And as I said, you know, I mean, still a fair few, I mean, over 65% still identify as Catholic. Now, whether all them people go to church and so forth, I'm not sure. But I think, you know, regardless of your religion, you know, we're all going to probably experience, well, we are definitely going to experience loved ones dying. You know, that's just part of life. And what we don't want is our loved ones in situations where they suffer. And I think we can all agree with that kind of scenario. But there are people that suffer when they die. And modern medicine is incredible. You know, it keeps us alive. But it doesn't ameliorate all the suffering that one can suffer in relation to a very complicated ending of their life. And what we're trying to get at in relation to this committee is, in them situations where one is facing a very, very difficult ending, can one, with the help of a doctor and with the help of legislators, can somebody have a choice in relation to how that life ends? And I believe in that certain circumstances, somebody should have a choice, a say in actually how they die. You know, I think it's a very democratic thing, and it's a very kind of fundamental thing. If somebody does not want to go through weeks of pain, who's to say, well, regardless of what your religion is, who is to say that person has to go through that for, you know, because of medical reasons or religious reasons? Nobody should be able to go through that scenario. So in them scenarios, in that scenario, somebody should have a say, a choice, whatever you want to call it. In order to do that, we have to change the legislation. It's as simple as that. And that's why I think the majority of people in Ireland would support legislative change around assisted dying, because they want to prevent suffering, and they want to give people a say in actually how they die. So why would you be against that? I don't really understand why actually anybody would be against that.
I'd like to bring in Mr. Ward, if you don't mind, because you haven't been brought in for a while. If you wish.
Oh, well, I mean, everything that Deputy Kenny has just said. I mean, we who have no religion do not believe in an afterlife, and so in which case this life is the only one we have. We believe in living it to ethical standards. I personally believe in living a considered life. I try to do the best I can within the sense of reason that I possess. But if at the end of life, if someone is diagnosed with a terminal illness and they're in a lot of pain and they are a member of your family, you are very limited in your options of ending that person's suffering, especially in this country. At the moment, one is to possibly assist in illegally in suicide, or only if you have the means can you travel. And that's the way we see it, is that we see that we believe that we should have agency over our own lives, especially when it comes to with great suffering, because that's really all we're concerned about here.
I think, first of all, it would be wrong for us to put all religions in one particular box. The Islamic stance on abortion, for example, is that it is permissible. That's exactly what I stated a couple of years ago. Islam recognizes divorce. It recognizes at the same time, in terms of marriage equality, our stance was, this is not a religious matter. This is not talking about the religious Islamic marriage. This is about marriage in a secular state. So I think in all those situations, our perspective has always been to make sure that we protect the vulnerable people, whether these are women, whether these are men, gays or lesbians. it's the vulnerable people that need to be protected. And in this particular situation, we are opposing any change in legislation because we are concerned about the vulnerable people, people with mental health issues, with depression. And if we open the door, whether we call it slippery slope, whatever, the reality is myself from the Netherlands originally, 20 years ago I moved here. I am, as an imam, still connected with the Dutch Muslim community. I've had a situation where, on a particular situation, a person who was under depression, whose family members weren't meeting him. He had children, but children didn't want to have any contact with him. In that particular situation, he decided that he wanted to end his life. So he was connected with me. We've had a discussion, and I traveled actually to the Netherlands. I happened to be there to meet my brothers, and I met this patient. I gave him some pastoral care, and eventually he decided not to proceed with it. Today, 2023, probably 4 years later, this particular individual has, again, connection, relationship with his children that abandoned him previously. The person's death that will occur one day at least has an ending where he met his family members. If he chose, because the legislation gave him this, allowed for him, if he chose to go and proceed with assisted dying, he would have regret, he was going to regret it. And he said that it was a good decision, and thank God I had this pastoral care. So I personally think that it's about the vulnerable people. So if there is change in legislation, we have to ensure that the vulnerable people, they are looked after. That's the most important thing.
Senator Ronan Mullen, please.